Hi everybody, welcome from Australia. My name is Chrissy and today I thought I'd give you a channel reading for the 26th of February and we'll just sort of see what guidance comes through. I know there is currently a lot of energy and a lot of things happening around the globe. So, we've got the Russia-Ukraine activity going on. We've got the American truckers are standing up and having their freedom convoy, and it's just fantastic. I've been watching a bit of that on Facebook. It's just brilliant. You Canadian truckers ignited that in everybody. New Zealand's protesting. Melbourne here in Australia still got a march today. So there's a lot going on around the globe, and I'm just going to close my eyes and we'll just get started and sort of see what the current energy is and what comes through. So they're showing me like the fireball being blasted out of the cannon. So if you think of a big fireball that's being blasted out of a cannon, it's roaring through the sky and it's got this trail of sort of flames and fire coming behind it and it's ready to land. Now, it's not saying that it's like a bomb landing, but it's actually an ignition. So when that cannonball hits the ground, it ignites everything. And this is what I'm saying about the freedom fighters. The freedom fighters have been ignited and there's no stopping it. There's no turning this back now. You can't, it's like a tap that's been broken. When the seal goes in the tap, if you're a plumber, you'll understand this. When the actual seal or whatever goes in the tap, the water just keeps running. You can't turn it off. And that's what's happening around the globe. This is what the freedom fighting is happening. The tap is being turned on and it's being turned on with full force. And the elites and all the ones that are trying to control the power are trying to turn this tap off real quick. And that's why we're seeing that sort of pulling into the reins now, where they're trying to sort of ditch mask mandates, ditch a lot of things, stop some of the QR codes, and there's all this kind of panic mode. You can kind of feel that. I know here in Australia we can, because they've dropped a lot of things at the moment. A lot of places aren't even using the vaccine passports at the moment. A lot are, but a lot aren't. So this is happening globally. This is them trying to turn the tap off, but they can't turn it off because the freedom fighters, the light workers, the people who are trying to make change, the trucker convoys have broken that seal on the tap and the water is flowing. And this is what has been ignited by the huge cannonball that has landed, and it has had a huge impact right around the world, not just in one spot. This is all around the world. So let's look at this as a real positive moving forward. Now, for some reason, today is the day of change. The fact that they've retracted on mask mandates, to me, is a huge deal, because people will start to see that, well, how are we going to protect ourselves without masks? Like, isn't this about health? And this is what I'm telling you about people starting to question a lot of the narrative now, because how can a virus just disappear like that? Wasn't there another strain of Omicron? These are the kind of questions people are now asking. Obviously, you guys are getting out there and you're sharing a lot of information and you're getting it out to the platforms and you're redirecting things to people, which is great, because that's what's having this impact. And people are questioning why the mask mandate's being dropped, why are these things being dropped? Aren't we still living in a pandemic? How can a pandemic just magically go away? And that's what people are starting to question. So that narrative, that is coming out. People are starting to question a lot of these things, particularly around the mask mandates being dropped so rapidly. It's not like they're slowly phasing them out, but it's like, oh, just don't wear your masks anymore. And that's, see, this is what I'm saying about, you don't have to worry. Like, you don't have to try and put your thoughts onto other people now, because people are going to slowly wake up by themselves, because they're going to start to question things. Now, look, you might have to eliminate people from your life, and I understand that. I've actually had to do it myself. I've unfriended a few people on Facebook, but you might have to eliminate people from your life. It's as simple as that. When something as big as this that has happened to our lives, you have to take your power back. And that's how you remain grounded, and that's how you remain strong. And that's why I always talk about reaching out to other people and getting that light kind to re-strengthen yourself. Now, It doesn't matter if they're living next door to you or they're miles across the earth, as I know, or the world rather, with you guys, that we talk to each other, because I feel isolated in my madness as well. So you're not isolated, but at least we've got each other to kind of keep supporting each other and giving each other some positive feedback. So that's very important. So if you have to eliminate people, try not to, but I understand if you're at that point where you're undecided and do I eliminate this person? They keep arguing with me. Is that what you really want going forward? So that's something you really have to consider. Today is a bit of a turning point for a lot of us, that we have to make a lot of decisions now moving forward. Do we stay on our own path, or do we keep veering off it? So that's where it comes to making those decisions around, you might have to eliminate people. And look, that's okay. Doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't mean that you won't meet up again some stage in your life. It just means at the moment, the compatibility isn't there. And what happens is that can bring down your vibration. So you really have to make those decisions today and start to eliminate anyone who's trying to drag you down out of your power, because that's what anyone who's had their pain body ignited or who is feeling very angry in themselves will try and drag you into that. So just be really aware of that. And if you need to eliminate people, I'm sorry, but you have to do it. That's just the only way that you can protect yourself and manage your own sort of strength and purpose in life. Now I'm getting not to be afraid. A clear message is not to be afraid. It's very easy to be afraid of life and looking forward and where you're heading and where you're going and what's coming. And I know that happened to me the other day. I was looking at Klaus Schwab talking, and that can be very overwhelming. When you feel like you're living in a very bad movie, it feels surreal, and you start to bring up your own fears as well. So your fears can start to rise up in your own body too, because you feel like you are going a little mad. But look, you're not going mad. This is actually happening. The problem is that a lot of people still don't see it, and they're very, very slow at waking up. But there are a lot of people that are seeing it. I think we have to look around the globe to see that people are standing up and freedom fighting now, and that's really, really growing en masse. So don't let fear overcome you, and that's the message today. Do not let your fear rise up and take over your thought processes. Fear is something that we make in our own thoughts. So you have to find ways to push through those fears. You have to find ways to put your thoughts onto other things. And I've got a lot of self-help videos that can help you around fear and anxieties and things as well, if you tap around and find those. Because what you want to do with fear is you want to get your mind off it and go and distract yourself. So TV off, I always talk a lot about that, and the guides are saying that's very important when it comes to getting fear out of your thoughts. Go and put your mind onto something. Go and pat your pet. Sit with, I've got my dogs. I sit with them and I pat them, and they give me love and I give them love, and we exchange love. So the opposite of fear is always love. So if you can go and spend some time with your kids, play a game with your kids, do anything, go out in the garden, get out in nature. I always talk about that a lot. The guides reckon nature is a great way to save yourself. So don't allow your fears to take over today. That's very important. Work on removing that fear from your thoughts, and because the thoughts in your mind will affect how your body feels, and you don't want to be becoming cramped up and crippled up again in that destructive sort of energy. You want to keep yourself open and allow that flow as well. So you want information to come to you. So when you're jammed up and you're closed down, good information isn't going to come to you that's going to help you. You're going to shut it out. So work on releasing all that today. That's definitely the message I'm getting, is to work on any fears that might be starting to rise up within you. Now the guides are saying that there are challenges moving forward. I think anyone who is awake knows that there's a lot of challenges to come. But look, in the last 2 years, we've been through enormous challenges. We've been pushed aside in society, vilified, we've been discriminated against. We've been, had our lives sort of ripped out from underneath us. So there's really nothing more that can sort of come to us that we can't handle. God, look here, gosh, you look at the truckers in Canada, and they're still regrouping. You know, how much tenacity and strength do these Canadian truckers have? And I know these American truckers are going to have that as well. And that's something that I'm definitely getting through, is that you have to have that tenacity and you have to have that staying power, because we've got it. The reason that we're freedom fighters, or that we're light workers, or we're holding that light to make a difference, is because we have that strength and that power inside. So again, don't let people drag that out of you. You just stay on your path and stay really true to your own beliefs, and that's definitely the message today as well. Stay true to your own beliefs and get around like kind. I know I keep banging that drum, but that is the crucial way to survive this crazy battle that we're going through at the moment, is to have that strength in numbers. And I always get that vision of, oh gosh, Braveheart, with Mel Gibson telling his the fighters and the soldiers and that behind him who want to stand up and fight, to stand up and fight, because if you don't stand up and fight, you are going to lose your freedom moving forward. And that's the image that they keep giving me, is it's better to fight than to just give in and just collapse away in the corner and just have no voice and be scared and be full of fear. Like, what sort of a life is that? That's not a life I want for my kids or for myself going forward. So you've got to really know that you've got to stand up and keep yourself strong. And the guides have given you some tips today on how to go about doing that. And I know that that's really not easy when you're trying to live your little life in your little bubble, but this is much bigger picture beyond the bubble. The bubbles have burst ages ago. I talked about that in last month's videos. The bubbles are burst now and everything's getting exposed. And we have to now find that strength for the next part of this story, which is freedom fighting, moving forward, having that power within us to ignite those sparks in other people as well, because people have got the truth in them. You know, I talk about that a lot, that people don't listen enough to their gut feelings and what they're sensing. People will push those down and they'll suppress them, but they're often inside of people. So you might just plant one little seed that triggers something in someone's mind, and they might go, well, that doesn't make sense. I said something to someone, for example, the other day. Someone was talking about how, you know, the vaccinated people have gone into the old people's homes here and they've spread it to all the old people. And my husband and I just sort of looked at them and we said, but unvaccinated people aren't allowed in old people's home. They've still got the green pass. So not one unvaccinated person, but they were still blaming unvaccinated people. And she just stood there in shock. She was like, embarrassed. So these are the things that you can do. You can just give them that logical side of it, and maybe it might trigger something in them or it might not, but this is what the guides are saying. You plant that little seed, and sometimes that little seed grows, and this is how people wake from their coma. I know it sounds weird that it's like we've got to do a bit of work, but you know, isn't it worth it to stand up and fight for our freedoms and try to get our lives back? I think it's kind of worth it, because I don't like the way we've been living for the past 2 years. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've about had it up to here as well. So that's definitely a message as well. Just keep planting those little seeds. I think we can all come to the conclusion that the currency system is definitely changing. I live in a small country town, and already there's a few coffee shops and things that won't accept cash. And gosh, they just give into it so easily. So currency is something that we're going to see change really rapidly in the next, I'd say even the next 6 months. There's going to be dramatic change around cash, currency. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to kind of work out where this is all going, because of course they can control everything. As we've seen in Canada, they froze the truckers' bank accounts, and this is kind of what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to keep track of everybody's monetary deposits and withdrawals and what you're doing, and so you will have no privacy. And also they're wanting to start to introduce, obviously slowly, their credit system, where you will get credit for this, but you can't buy that because you've done this and you've done that, so you can't by this. So there's going to be a lot of this control starting to be implemented. I reckon that'll happen within the next 6 months. I think that's going to become really clear. And I think that's going to really bombard people, because they're going to think, how did this all come about? Because people haven't opened their eyes up to all this yet. They're not seeing that while all this distraction's going on, all this is being implemented and now it's all unfolding. So be ready for it, because we all know it's coming, but a lot of this population is not aware that it's coming. You know, you don't spend huge amounts of debt unless that's going to be repaid and recuperated somehow. So that's another thing. People are going to have to pay for all this debt that has been accumulated right around the globe. So that's why they're looking at collectively bringing all the monetary system into one. And I don't think it's a good thing. I don't know if we're going to have any say in that moving forward. We can fight for our freedoms and not having mandates and things, but even if those come to pass, I feel like they're still going to really push forward with the whole credit currency system, because I feel like that was the whole reason for everything, really. Mandates, yeah, they'd love us to all conform and comply and do everything, but I think they've realised now that that's kind of not going to happen. So if they can kind of get control of everybody's money, at least the wealthy and the elite are still going to have their lovely little paychecks coming in. I'll just see if anything else comes through for today, the 26th of February. Now, I get, if you're living alone, don't become disgruntled. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there who have been in isolation for very long periods of time. They've been kept from families, they've been kept from their friends, from people that they love. And it has been cruel, but you can't hang on to those feelings anymore. Look, a lot of places are starting to open up. We can see that. So we've got to sort of also take the positives from these things. I know loneliness can be really horrible and it's a hard thing to crawl out of, but you can get out of it. You've got to start sort of going to the places that you can now. I always talk about getting out in nature, learning to meditate, learning to get back to your passions and your creativities. Gosh, that will always help you to sort of find yourself again, because a lot of people have felt very lost in the darkness over the last couple of years, and loneliness is a big issue. And I also feel that that is rising in children as well. They have really felt isolated from their peers, their friends, and we know how important that is to young ones. So that's something else to sort of consider as well. When you're lonely, if you're needing to get help, please go out and get it. Don't just sit there disgruntled and just give up on life either. That's a message that I'm getting through today. Please reach out to people, tap around, get some advice, seek medical assistance if you do need it. Some people might need medicating. Look, I know I'm not a big one on all that, but there are times if you're feeling really down and in a dark place that you might need something to help you kind of just pep you up and get you out of it. Don't be scared to admit that either. That's very important during really challenging times, because it's not been an easy road to navigate. And when you've been vilified, ostracized, people have turned their back on you, that's very, very hurtful, and you've got to deal with those feelings and emotions. So please, if you're feeling lonely and you're a bit scared or you're full of fear, don't isolate yourself. Go out and get the help you need. It might just be that you need to talk to somebody, maybe a good psychologist, something like that. That's also some advice that I'm getting through today. I'm getting that Canada really rocks. Canada has made a huge, huge difference to this world and the financial stream, because they're going to be the ones that are going to make the huge changes around finance. Just when we thought things were all collapsing, because these truckers have brought things up and highlighted a lot of this stuff about the media and about the dictatorships and the truths not being heard, that's something that I feel is going to have a little bit of a shift now. People aren't going to engage with the banks a lot. They're going to, in Canada particularly, people are removing themselves from kind of the corporate world. That they're fearful. So even though Trudeau thought he had put fear in the public and the people of Canada, he's actually put fear into them around the media, the banks, and obviously the governing parties and the people in Parliament who are making the decisions. So in actual fact, the Canadian truck drivers have done everybody a favour because they've actually highlighted to a lot of the population the real truths, whereas that probably would not have come out. There's a lot of things like the World Economic Forum and the plan that was set up and all these financial things going forward that would not have been highlighted had it not been for the Canadian truckers. And now the American truckers are on board. Like I said, everybody's following suit. So look, we have to take the really positive things from these experiences, as much as they're quite horrifying and scary to watch at the time. We have to take the positives, and now things are being highlighted. Things are coming out. We know this is happening. We don't want to live in that dystopian dictatorship. And I think people are really standing up. There are more people standing up every single day against these regimes because we don't want to live our lives in that current energy, because it is so debilitating and people feel like they're being squashed, and it's almost like showing me that suffocation. It's like people had a pillow over their face and they were being suffocated by their own governments, but now they've actually taken those pillows off. They're standing up and they're fighting back now, and that's the message that I'm getting on the 26th of February. People are fighting back. So just let it unfold. No rushing, no panicking, but it is happening. Look, I just want to say thank you so much to all my beautiful subscribers out there. I know that we're there for each other. We talk to each other. It's so beautiful. We're trying to find our little bit of peace in the world and how to move forward and navigate this, I don't know, craziness that people wouldn't even believe if you sat them down and told them. Hit those like buttons. Thank you. That helps me to subscribe to my channel. Like I said, got tons of self-help videos that can help you as well if you look back at some of my early ones. And look, I love talking to you. I will see you in that next video, and bye from Australia. Take care, everybody, and stay really strong. Bye.